unique way of scraping data, not scraping data, building your own proprietary data sets, acquiring it, and putting it together to tell these very beautiful stories. And at a high level, one of the things that Accrue does is we put together thematic, event-based trading strategies, if you could say that, and also quantitative narratives about how events systematically impact financial markets. Sorry, 1 second.
Sure, take it up.
The idea is that we have the ability to kind of create something new from the data that you already have, meaning the first idea, which can be one of many, I'm not limited to this, was to help you guys put together some kind of time series based data sets that we could kind of prototype as an alternative data stream that could be presented as kind of alternative data trading insights to, say, financial market participants, right? And that was just kind of a back of the napkin first glance. I don't know exactly how we would tackle that. I think it's I mean, at our business, we do call it creative data collection. We do create opportunities from just seemingly unstructured, irrelevant looking data, and we find magic in it. I mean, it could be anything like executive orders or just random actions that happen throughout the course of a day, or congressional acts. I mean, things that you read in the news, but you wouldn't think is systematically trade. We basically help people work with that. So,
I agree. That's really great. I think I appreciate that, Bimbo, and also just obviously for everyone's information as well. I think I understand that there is lots of information in the data. It's all you tailor that to the customer's needs, right? Okay, they're looking for specifically, okay, maybe perhaps an IT, perhaps app industry, or maybe weather, or maybe something like maybe whatever specific political event driven scenarios and stuff like that. Yes.
Yeah, and the point I'll make is that they will emerge. So to think that basically people don't develop an appreciation for something after a current event happens it would miss the point. People's tastes and appetite for certain things evolves as the world unfolds, and that's just our experience. We've seen things that we built that we thought were going to be very, very beautiful and very, very insightful that get picked up maybe 18 months later, because people realize the importance. I think, oh, if I had done that thing. And look, and these are sophisticated guys. These guys have billions of dollars, and it's like, oh. And so we might have shelved it. We might have almost destroyed the project thinking it was trash, but lo and behold, oh, you guys preserved that, right? Oh, thank God, right? Like something like that. So it's really, it's not saying it's the easiest thing to do, but it can be extremely lucrative because there's no actual price for saving someone's ass when they neglected something, or being able to have at the behest when they need it also. So again, it's more like you guys are capturing current events. You guys are capturing things that are going on in the media and across different publications. So again, it's really up to us, in between here and the moon, how we can approach that.
Perfect. I appreciate that. And I believe one of the things which we talked, obviously last time, if I understand that right, so you're actually creating this big alternative data sets in the likes of obviously the competitors like S&P, and obviously those are there, but still you're trying to you have a massive data, I would call as alternative data for sure, and also you're serving mostly in the mid-tier, right? That's your sweet spot, isn't it?
Yep. Mid-tier family offices above typically 300 million or so. And then hedge funds mid-tier, maybe probably less than 10 billion, typically more so in 2 to 3 billion.
Okay, and also they use it for many purposes, right? I think it doesn't necessarily like off-the-shelf data. They could ask different. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, risk management. I mean, risk management is an easy sell for us generally. So someone wants to understand what they don't know about what they don't know. And they have these certain groups have budgets for that, right? So we work with the risk management departments, or sometimes we work with treasury, but also the traders. Also, a lot of times it does have to pass trading in order to get sold. But generally, we work with groups that have an appetite for understanding emerging risk. So if there's a risk manager group has a mandate for that, then it's easier to kind of have that conversation sometimes.
I agree. I've shared that. Cool. So Ali, do you have any suggestions or any inputs at all on that? Or some of the things what you just want to follow up on, or should we move on?
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of revisit kind of the stuff you guys were showing me last time, and I wanted to hear some ideas from kind of what I just presented. Like, if you have any initial thoughts, and we don't have to go in this particular direction again. I think there's enough here to kind of explore. I'm just pointing up this approach because it seemed like something that was hot on my radar. Not necessarily that it's the only thing we can do, just putting it out there, right? So if there are initial ideas about how some time series event-based data sets that we could create together,
yes,
and create some sort of white paper around, I think that'd be very interesting. I mean, if you think about it from a white paper, like there are certain types of risks emerging, there are certain types of things that are unfolding. Here's how it systematically impacts certain markets, or here's how it correlates to certain markets with low p-values and all the specifics that you would need in order to maintain your credibility, right?
Yes.
Publishing a white paper. We could take that approach. This is just a kind of a leaf or a branch to say, well, hey, could we extend your data to this world of alternative data? And that was just kind of the first quest. And if that's possible, I mean, the revenues could start, and it makes it easy. And I have other projects, I have other types of stakeholders that have said, hey, I am interested in certain types of data around, say, analyzing communications, PR, and extracting sentiment, extracting signals from that. Again, but these types of things are, they're not in my wheelhouse. We do event-based stuff. We try to be very objective. Sentiment is a little bit more subjective from our opinion, not on an absolute basis. There are objective ways to do sentiment, I'm sure, but it's not something we focus on. We don't have enough domain expertise to really take that on.
Of course. No, that makes sense. I agree, Benoit. I think so. I think just to spend a little bit time on, I think since following your last time, I think Oris, you might have not obviously see the background, what some of the things what Benoit is talking about. Maybe Benoit, if you can able to share something, just a quick glimpse of what is the platform looks like, just for his information, something like that. I'll just follow up on the questions what you ask about the platform, how we build some of the technologies and things like that. If that's okay with you.
Sure thing. I'm actually on my mobile phone at the moment, but can I walk you through it, and maybe I can send another deck or something you can follow up and you can ask. Is that fine? Yeah,
it's fine. Maybe I just wanted to, obviously at some stage, it will be great to have a demo access or something, your sandbox system.
Yeah, so that I gave you the NDA. That's designed to give you access. It's not.
Perfect. No problem. I think it will be fine. I think you were just not available last time. I just want to make sure that he sees the platform, and I see the potential of some of the use cases you showed with us last time. I think that.
So at a high level, I mean, just to keep it simple, we build calendars. We basically have been building industry calendars for the past, say, half a decade at least. So we build kind of contexts that are a little bit more nuanced than, say, traditional financial calendars, such as the economic calendar or, say, a corporate earnings calendar. And these are kind of two that are greatly appreciated. But then when you get into other types of events, you have like product releases, CEO speeches, IR events. I mean, there's all the different types of things that kind of make up the full tapestry of like how corporate engagement looks like, right? And then you have unscheduled events like, say, bad press or scandals or lawsuits. And these types of things also sit on someone's calendar inside the corporation, like a lawsuit calendar. I'm sure someone has it, right? And we kind of do our best to kind of create this perspective that wouldn't ordinarily be available to help a financial investor become more astute on an empirical basis about how these types of developments impact their assets, right? And most of the time, because of the way our events are built, they can be historical or forward-looking. So you could ask a question around, say, something trivial, like not trivial, but something like a holiday. In the 5 days leading up to Valentine's Day, what are the top global chocolate stocks that have returned, greater than 5% over the 5 days leading up, 100% of the time over the past decade? Other things that exist, right? and kind of getting that answer. Or you can do the same thing around PS5 releases or supply chain data. And you look at some event for Apple and look at suppliers or the competitor and figure out. There's different ways to use inductive and deductive reasoning to basically take historical events like the ones we've been building and correlate them in many ways. So there's a couple ways you can ask questions to the data on our platform. You could essentially put in a series of events, say something simple like Christmas. Seasonality, which stocks close higher in the days leading up to Christmas, or 2 days before, 1 day after. Are there any securities that have this type of pattern? You can get a full list, and you can explore those lists exhaustively. You can drill down to each and every one of those assets, and you can extract all the different types of nuances and detailed statistics about whether or not this is feasible. I mean, you can compare it to benchmarks, you can compare it to competitors. You can see the statistics for each individual data point before, after, and during that trade. And it's just kind of a full dashboard that kind of tells a user what and how sound risk management would look like in the face of something like a development. And it could be anything like seasonal, like or something unscheduled, like something you would have to construct. And again, you guys are dealing in, say, maybe financial crime, money laundering, even accusations, these types of things are a big deal. I mean, you can ask BitMEX, right? And the idea is, in the face of these types of events, how does that impact perception of other assets? And again, the thing about it is that what makes it easy to partner with us, that we don't have to be so smart. Like, we don't have to know this is going to, because this is an event for HSBC, it's going to impact HSBC. No, we can exhaustively, because of our infrastructure, scale this across the entire global ecosystem. I mean, we were talking like hundreds of thousands of assets, if not millions of assets. And we can tell stories about how this actually works. Now, the thing is that after we know those truths, we can then go find an audience that might be appropriate for this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So Arist and Ali, is it okay, or did you follow that?
It sounds quite interesting. So you build calendars for corporate events, but when you say you can ask questions, are you referring to typing the question and an AI model gives replies based on the data, the calendar style data?
Okay, I'm on the phone now. You can be.
We have some API to do some variation of a domain-specific language where you can do that. You can formulate these types of questions using our API. We did not build like an Ask Jeeves or a natural language interface for asking specific questions.
Yeah.
But you can interrogate and query the data very fluidly.
Sure. So that's quite yeah, go ahead.
No, it's designed for machines. It's not designed for people. Like most of the people that we work with are quants. They're decision makers about data. They either know something very specific that they already want to know a lot about, or they have systems that kind of, they know how they want their systems to learn about things. Something like that. We're not dealing in like a randomness. We're not building an Ask Jeeves or something like that right now.
Yeah. So I think it's mainly there like a data. We think about having like, lots of information about a particular event or particular, like a typical calendar is talking about, right? They'll have information about that. Actually, the people can able to use that information to they can build an AI model on top of it, or maybe they can do a mathematical, statistical, predictive analytics, whatever they can use the data for their own purposes, right? If I can put that way. And obviously that their main asset is about the data and actually having all the different data points and all these different things which will be useful to create a story, right, and create a more kind of useful application on top of it.
Yes, I'm sure it will be much more clear. I'm sure it will be much more clear, but for now I think it sounds quite interesting, and it will be interesting to see what type of, because you're mentioning there it's time series type data. So it will be interesting to see how we can use it, and as you mentioned, how we can use it to create new useful interpretations of data that is already there.
Yes, of course, and I think that's the main gateway. It's really about new useful interpretations. Again, I think this is really about bridging what you guys have done, which is incredible, to a very new domain, right, of alternative data, kind of situational awareness.
Yes.
Yes. Everything will be easier once, because currently I'm trying to think about the possibilities, but it is much easier if I know what type of basically data are we looking at, because based on the data, then it's much easier for us to think about how we could basically how we could to create something cool, innovative, and so on.
So the last discussion we looked at, you were analyzing news, right? For example, remember HSBC. Haj, can you remind me? It'll refresh when you comes back. What we were talking about HSBC, we were looking at some news articles or some reports.
Yes.
Do you remember what exactly was that?
Yeah, so maybe let me, yes. So basically, Aris can able to give an idea. So where we started was really looking at, okay, looking at any entity like HSBC, Tesla, or Apple, any company, an example, right? So what we looked at is like what's happening about this entity, an example, at this point of time, maybe at any specific event, from all the different sources, all the way from your global media, could be all coming from major media outlets like BBC, I mean, Reuters, Bloomberg, to BBC's, to Wall Street Journal, to anything else. And also from social media perspective, obviously like Twitter, Reddit, an example, Facebook, and all the different entities. So what we tried to do was there, and we created an application out of it. Like it would, the main premise was, okay, would it be better for a customer to see, like an example, HSBC or Tesla, to see what people are talking about their brand at this point of time, whether it's a good sentiment or actually it's good or bad, or at the same time, what actually the data points are. Because it's vast information, you can think about, there could be opportunities, they could be risk-related news, they could be things like, I would call it bad reputational things, and maybe some customer, issues and other things. But the institutions themselves, they may not have the time to analyze, or maybe they don't have the infrastructure to analyze the information in the real time, right? That's exactly what we built an application where it will look at all the different information sources and save it, and also analyze the AI metrics like sentiments, classification, whether it's belonging to any specific event, like you mentioned, risk or opportunity, or any organizational changes. And it will give them actionable insights, right? So that they can able to see a timeline of what's actually happening, and also how the sentiment, or maybe how that the particular event is actually progressing.
Sure, that makes sense. So and a lot of times the corporates would actually know what was actually going on. So for example, you would be, say, building a brand, kind of an ongoing, dare I say, brand score, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. So I will show you something also, maybe at least I'll walk through with some examples. Sentiment is a part of what we're doing, like an example. If you see my screen, right, can you see it?
I can see it clearly.
So something like this dashboard, like you see the world map here, you can really see at this point of time, where are the conversations are happening, right? It may be really useful for, I would say, an example, a customer intelligence team, or maybe, like a chief marketing officer or someone else in that nature. So an example, this is HSBC, there's a lot of things happening in this UK bubble, right? They can really see, okay, there are some conversation, this is of interest. And there is something happening in that part of India. And there is something happening in some Hong Kong area, and obviously there is something in West Coast. Obviously, these are the kind of people can able to really see, okay, what's happening at like in a bird's eye view, right? And this is kind of one KPI to measure. Something like there is emerging. If any hot topic came in, like an example, in a product launch, or maybe product launch failed, or whatever it has happened, right? An example, that would be good conversations to monitor. And obviously you can really see the sentiments as well, to see how people are analyzing the information about that as well, from different topics. And also you can really see the timeline of how the users are following a particular brand. You can look at that aspects, and also different conversations people are talking about, like good reputational things and bad reputational things, churn and COVID-19 issues and everything. You can really quantify the number of conversations, right? Because if you look at any pages, like an example, even a Facebook page for HSBC or any of the company, there are so many conversations happens there, and it's difficult for them to analyze, what actually is about, right? And people talk about many things. There are 103 comments over there, And obviously people can tell about different things about bad customer service, obviously, many things. They would like to know what's actually happening, right, rather than we presenting information. So these are the kind of different KPIs we are measuring it, and we're showing them also like where are the information is happening. Like an example, from the news, it's the top news at this time, like one is coming from Bloomberg, and obviously something is about that. And also you can really see who are the influencers about their brand, right? And in an example, who is influencing the HSBC, and Financial Times is talking about HSBC. So there is something to be cautious about, because obviously whatever they say, people will either follow, or political pressure wise on HSBC or Hong Kong activists, right? I think this is a kind of political situation happening there, right? And so this is really, I would say, as based on the customers, they can able to see like different topics of interest, and we actually make it more flexible for the users to see how they can able to pursue this information, whether it's actually the media side or social media, or sometimes internal data also. We're not just restricted to only this. We can also look at some signals from internal data. Like an example, that could be the case with working with you guys, right? Basically to see if you have any specific data about press releases, or maybe perhaps a specific event about risks, anything, we can able to find some signals and do the correlation, like network analysis and stuff like that. Could be different possibilities, right? I think this is just to give a flavor of what it can do.
Yeah, it's definitely a good flavor. I mean, what about tracking like tags? Hypothetically, not hypothetically, in a real sense. When you look for HSBC mentions, like say on Twitter, and I saw there was 5 in India, maybe 42 somewhere in the US.
Yeah.
Like, are you just looking for the word HSBC or hashtag HSBC, or are you looking for? I mean, is that the limitation of that query? Like, how do you?
Yeah, so basically, I think different social media platforms have got obviously the different ways of accessing the data, because we're not scraping, right? We're just accessing their APIs. So HSBC, as a Twitter, works in a different way, that it actually looks at by mentions, which means that what the word HSBC being used, it will pick up all the conversations.
Sure.
And
what about like dollars? What about like $sign HSBC? Like someone talking about the share price. Is there a way to quickly add that in also?
Yes, I think if you talk about the keywords, I think in that nature, yes, if you know exactly, yeah, we can look at it, and obviously, yes, yeah, I don't think that would be a challenge, but I think we just need to look at. So you're talking about a sentencing, right? Basically, like HSBC's share price gone up or down in that context, is it?
People just discussing it. I mean, like obviously, people just discussing a particular ticker specifically, right?
Yes.
I think all the metrics we have are important. I'm just saying for the context that. The audience that I would be discussing with, they care about these qualities, right?
Yes.
These what you're showing me kind of makes up kind of the corporate view, the perception of the corporation, right? It's like the exterior view,
yes.
Which is helpful from an institutional investor, right? I think being able to kind of connect that dot between that and say some sort of like share price appreciation or likelihood of getting a dividend or something.
Yes.
Without losing money. Is pretty much the basis of kind of their financial decision making. It's a very simple outcome they're looking for. So my goal is to kind of get them from this to say, are these customers achieving their desired outcome, right?
Yes. And
they know, they'll look at this information. It's hard for me from my perspective, my perch, to basically assign like a price on it, right? Because I know that it's worth a lot, right? But me having to bridge that conversation and say, well, how does this fit into the business process? What's the job to be done? We know this does more than that, which is why there's a premium. But I'm just trying to connect. You follow what I'm saying? I know this is a very valuable chunk of what a decision maker uses. So can you tell me more about like who uses this dashboard at HSBC, or is this not for HSBC itself?
No, actually, this is. I mean, we just built it. Obviously, I'm just giving an example for HSBC, right? Obviously, currently we've got a PE firm is using it right now to monitor their portfolio. An example, if you wanted to monitor your competitors, an example, right? You can do that. Like example, you can able to look at, this is kind of a classical use case we have in terms of monitoring your, your competitors. Like example, if you look at a PE firm, right? So basically they have lots of information happens within a PE portfolio, right? You kind of companies, whether it's press release information, some risk news, or maybe people perception of the brand. Obviously, they cannot able to go to Google every single time to find out, what's happening, right? That's one of the classic use case what we have, that, monitoring their portfolios. I think this is where we believe that, more interest is coming. Yes, go ahead.
No, I was saying I see it. Just continue, please.
Yes, so that's one of the common use cases we are finding out. How people would like to monitor their own perhaps the portfolio and also their competitors. Like an example, because there's a lot of volume information, right? It's so hard to find out what exactly it is, right? And yeah.
I see.
I think what Benoit said about connecting the dot in terms of, for example, stock market and price change is quite interesting, because there is some overlap here. So what we are doing here can be interpreted as connecting the dots between the stock market charts, things investors and other have available, and another type of data that is much less precise than a stock market chart. So it's about the measurability of what people are actually saying about companies on social media. So it's this is in the context of sentiment analysis. So it's a way to interpret this data in a similar way as you would interpret for example, a candlestick chart in the stock market. Imagine a number of people looking at all the tweets about, say, HSBC, thousands of tweets, and create a report about it. So this is a way to study what are people saying in a similar way as you will study a chart. So where is the connecting the dot? The text is not price, but maybe studied and interpreted in a certain way. For example, through sentiment analysis, you can make it look like a stock market chart, and then you can see what are the patterns there.
Yes. And also, yes, just to cover the story, I think, right, this is one of our partners, Benoit, actually is a credit rating company in Europe, right? So they do, obviously, you understand the credit ratings and stuff, right? They do have a kind of a workflow systems, like, they can able to monitor any company exposures, financial statements, right? The way they're using our product, as you can see, they've integrated our API there. So basically, you can search about any company and actually you can find that thing. What they told us is that, when you look at any company, an example, financial statements, like, which is very static, right? An example, like financial statements doesn't change that often, right? 3 months or maybe once a year. They would like to see the real-time information about what's actually happening about this company. An example, Ferrari or maybe UniCredit at this point of time from media, right? Which is where could be a press release information affecting their credibility, or could be a kind of a reputational damages, maybe someone maybe investigations or litigations. And that's exactly where they're using the signals from our side, basically on our platform, to actually make it like more end-to-end platform, so that they can have up-to-date information about any company rather than just looking at a like financial statements, right? Which this is one of the classic use case. Also, we just obviously looking at enhancing as well, how best we can able to give those kind of signals based on the data sets. Could be external data or maybe internal data that could be pointing to some things like, as I mentioned, triggering like any event in a stock market, or maybe perhaps a reputational damage. Everything will be affecting a company's reputation, right?
Sure, exactly. I mean, and again, it can be something as subtle as like certain qualities that exist inside of a financial statement, and things could be quantitative, correct? Right?
Exactly. So yes.
And some of them could be subjective based on wording and sentiment, but the idea here is that there's just a fundamental thinking process that could be applied to this type of information that you have in your dashboard, that if linked with our platform at the Almanac and Accrue, could provide the insight that would make it a lot easier to bridge that. For example, we can look at, say, just something simple. We could take all the financial statements there, and we can tell you, well, on financial statement really disclosure days, does this mean anything, right? Is there any volatility that comes in and around this asset as a result of that, in an anticipatory way or afterwards? And that's just one simple way of looking at one thing, right?
Yes.
But I'm saying that the amount of quality of information that you have here could probably afford us something a lot greater than that. Especially if you look at things like your brand score over time, or we could detecting weak signals in risk, meaning in terms of consumer latency or customer satisfaction, things like that. I mean, we don't really know until we test it. So and then that creates the conversation, because a lot of times we don't know what we don't know.
This is exactly right, because you made a very good point that what, if you look at media itself, right, I think obviously there's a big information happens about press releases, litigations, and all these things. But if you look at social media completely, if you don't pay, I mean, if companies don't pay attention to it, obviously that will really impact the bottom line in a way that people will churn. People will obviously will talk about like bad reputational signals. It will actually go as a big bubble, and then eventually it will hit your balance, obviously your books, and also maybe at some stage the maybe it may not directly impact your stock pricing on a day-to-day basis, but it will eventually go and hit your financial reputation, right? And this is where I believe, when we connect all these dots, like an example, from multiple information sets, that could be static information and ongoing information, that could be really great asset for organizations to monitor on a real time.
Yes, of course. And when I was looking at influencers, I was looking at the idea of like you had influencers on Twitter. So it can go many ways, right? So company or financial market influential standpoint. I mean, there's tons of social trading going on right now, right? And these types of social signals that are emerging from influencers like Barstool Dave, who has like 1 million followers or so, him talking about random stocks all day, and like he could be the most influential name and say something like Penn Gaming or Wynn, which is a large casino company, right? And it's publicly listed. So and in certain bubbles, there are you'll find instances where this type of dashboard applies almost natively to it. And the only question is, when this person does an action, what happens? It's or what happens when I do? It's kind of like data science. Is more like it's kind of simpler. It's more like answering. It's not really data science if it doesn't answer what happens when I do, right? It's kind of nice, and it's analysis when it's like what when I see something, what happens when I see, and it's kind of like entry level data science there. But then if you start to get into the predictive and you can anticipate an action, when I do something, I can kind of intervene. I can say, well, this is happening on Twitter right now. What actions could I take in order to thwart this reputational risk at HSBC, right? This is the type of like actionability that I think really gets corporates excited, and it would get shareholders excited also, because they could say, well, hey, do something about this, right? And this is why we have activist investors right now. They use tools similar to this. I mean, I'm 99% sure about that.
Yes.
And similar to this, they built it in-house. And that's what they keep it. They keep tabs, same way a private equity firm would, because there are basic private equity firms. And so the idea is that I focus on the middle market because what I'm referring to is the top end of the spectrum. It's almost like 2 Sigma or 2 Sigma investors that have access to these dashboards. But then further down the spectrum, you have a lot of wannabes that don't really have the resources, the skills, or the ability to even connect the dots. It's like they haven't had the eureka, but they know what they need, because they kind of know what they're missing, but then when they see it, they know it, and they just have money for it. So hopefully I didn't go off on a tangent about it.
No, I completely agree with you. I understand. I understand what you're saying. I think for sure. I think these are some of the things we've been thinking about for ourselves to see. We've been talking to a lot of financial services institutions here, and also there are different specifically use cases coming about financial crime, especially looking at some network analysis and signals about how this individual, maybe these companies are associated with multiple companies, and there are a lot of different things we're actually trying now in our with the data what we have. I think that I'm sure the direction obviously what we can take here is that instead of actually looking at a very general broader scale, if you identify, one or two top, kind of more useful and demand use cases, like example, financial crime is one. And obviously within financial crime, you have many different sub use cases, right? We can able to see how actually some of the things could be useful for them with the data what you have. And also we can able to apply some of the interesting things what we're doing in AI, like could be anomaly patterns in the data, or could be predictive signals, and also could be different cluster behaviors as well, about how different things are clustered in a more dynamic sense. And these are some of the thoughts I have in mind. Maybe we can able to discuss that, and
I agree. I think it'd be easiest if we break into themes just as you did. Financial crime, brand risk, things like that. If we kind of work from these bigger buckets, I think it's easier to kind of tackle at least one at a time, right? If you want to focus on,
yes.
I'm here to kind of make this easy, as directionally oriented as you guys want, and provided that it's kind of orthogonal to what we're both looking to do and where we are. So the intersection is, I feel like if financial crime is where you want to highlight yourself and what you guys are strongest in, I think it's obviously best for everyone that we just focus on that. And
yes.
we can apply our collective energy to kind of just put brain power to get that,
yes.
to get some variation of that done. I haven't really seen a lot of alternative data providers providing a lot of financial crime data. So for me, that's very unique. I've seen a lot of other stuff, like government contracts, congressional activities, but this is very well done. So you let me know.
Yes, Ali, please go ahead. You have some, yes.
I was just going to say, what we talked about financial crime in the past. I'm just thinking maybe we need some time, or we already have an idea in terms of what a POC in that space could look like. And in terms of market trends, I'm not sure what's cutting edge now, or based on what I've been seeing, there's a lot of activity by a couple of firms. I'm sure you have, the large integrators or financial crime specialists like Quantex, who've made a lot of progress in the last 3 to 4 years with their entity resolution, with their platform. They've done a lot of times with HSBC. I'm just trying to understand where we think that edge, with that opportunity is in financial crime, because there are a lot of providers there that probably offer point solutions that might be of interest, but where do we see good, both organizations, and what could we bring to the table from a financial crime perspective? I think that's such a little bit of thought, so we focus energy in the right place. We don't want to have, potentially an opportunity which, from a market perspective, is already saturated. So I'm trying to work out what that could look like, and still forming a view. I've just seen your deck, and I think once we get see a bit more of the data and the product, both our products, then I think there might be some idea of 2 or 3 candidates. Where could that be? Could there be something around, you look at a PEP or an organizational less of interest that might be on an OFAC list. So then you might say, look at the time series data, what's happening in the media, and that might give you a sense of, right, the risk has gone up for this entity more in the last 3 months, or in terms of the point, and that might reflect in terms of your portfolio rebalancing if you're an investment manager, or it might impact your credit risk modeling, or might impact your financial crime risk rating. So I can see synergies and opportunities. I think it'll just be good to get that overlay of where your data comes in, how we can augment that, whether that's sentiment data or clustering, and we come up with what is an MVP, even if it's just a very theoretical or small scale.
Yeah. And
we just start playing around with it, just keep it agile. But I'm just thinking, what are those 2 or 3 list of ideas as candidates for the MVP? And they don't have to be exactly in the same space. We're saying it could be financial crime. It could also be the decision making around portfolio rebalancing, looking at the news company data, the corporate actions data. We've seen a lot of movement in the price of Bitcoin. How could we do something that can add value, and provide some benefit to your clients there? So a lot of ideas. I just think it's taking those list of candidates and just seeing what works well, and then backing the horse that's going to have the best impact in terms of return on investment of our time, and how we can package that up and put that into the market. So good ideas, but yeah.
I think you hit something really, Ali. I really got inspired. I think I do like crypto a lot. just because it's very sensational. And I do like the fact that you guys are kind of at the intersection of technology and basically kind of regulation in a sense, right? Financial crime, regulatory act. So, I mean, even if there's a prototype where we could, again, this is a high level, maybe a moonshoot, but being able to track the development of increased crypto regulation around the world, right? And the impact of that on various industries. I know that sounds, because the thing is that crypto is emerging and no one can mistake that. The other industries already exist and they're very well documented. And what we have to prove is that we built an infrastructure to kind of monitor these old world assets very well. What's not done is that the future has not fully regulated Bitcoin yet, or crypto in general. And there are a variety of threats that emerge and will emerge that will need to be analyzed and decided on as things happen, right? And these exchanges all sit in different jurisdictions. They sit under different types of laws. They serve different types of customers, and they all are on social media, right? And that's also an angle too. I mean, a regulatory view of crypto, or risk, and then what the impact of that is on various industries and assets. I mean, that it's a bigger MVP in the sense that maybe you don't track crypto regulatory events, right, or financial crime from a crypto exchange perspective or things like that. But it's something along those lines where I feel like we could instantaneously show you the value in that, in terms of, hey, you show us a data set about this, and we say, we put it in our platform, and we go, here's what we found. I mean, it won't take much, right? But it for MVP, in terms of this, to kind of get our feet wet, when you guys have a treasure trove of regulatory data already, I mean, and we could just work with a couple of kind of defined time series data sets that obviously we can show you how to use it, and you can just play around, play with the platform, and see what you come up with.
Yes.
And these narratives they'll become obvious. They will emerge on themselves, and we can discuss that. Again, one of the next steps I think is to focus on building a white paper to kind of encapsulate. This is kind of like, hey, we've proven something, right? I think that's a good push, in my opinion, for something. In terms of like why we're doing this, I like to push for white paper. I'm not sure what other objective we could also come up with outside of that as a first step. But if we think about it in that lens, I think it's a lot easier to kind of do this in the correct way.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was definitely, we can take an action item on also the crypto side of it. At least we can able to take some of the things, how we can able to kind of take with a small kind of I would call that a POC, and then probably build up that incremental value. And also likewise, other action would be on financial crime. And I think, as Ali pointed out, there could be many initiatives where could be applied. And obviously, we need to better understand maybe the next maybe we can share our ideas in the next week or so, and then probably we can able to shape up how that will look like in terms of the data what you have, and in terms of the capabilities where we can able to emerge that. And then that way, at least, if you think both the parties will think that it's a good to start, then probably we can take it from there, right? And
Yes.
I think that is my kind of a more tactical approach, I think, based on some of the objectives where we have a commonly there.
I agree. Are you guys familiar with like any do you guys have I guess you are. So it's the way that you organize your data. Like for example, when I see the data sets, like for example the tweets. For example, I mean, is that a single table you guys built, or is that the multiple tables that you guys are pulling from? How do you guys organize that?
Okay, so maybe Oris will explain it, I think. So yeah, basically at the end, it's like you saw the API, right, which is actually structured basically like a more consumable way, so that anyone can able to consume an API to a front end or maybe to the interface. At the back of it, it's yeah, Oris, maybe if you want to give a quick overview on that.
It depends. It depends on the context, of course. So when it comes to training an AI model for assessing a certain type of data, the data set itself might be a big CSV file and so on. However, on a live environment where we are using a database and we make sure the type of data that are fed to an AI model is of the same format of the one that the AI encounters live in production.
Sure.
It's a combination of, sometimes when you do a training, I think, we do train the models. You might have known this, like GPUs unnecessarily, or maybe, for the faster training. And then we will try to optimize it in a way that it will also perform the same in CPUs, so that, you don't need to have that resource intensive, or maybe perhaps that, very expensive technologies like GPUs, right, to run an AI model. So basically it's a combination of things. And also in terms of our data, we're processing at least thousands of feeds happening, and also it's capable in a way that it will process everything, and also give the AI metrics within under 5 or 6 seconds, right, which is also quite efficient. At this moment we are constantly optimizing it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So everything is working live. So the dashboards you see are all processing live data. It's nothing static. It's all working in production through real APIs, right?
Yes, and that's what I think that one of the feature what we have is that every time we search it actually takes the information live, and also we save the data also once it is presented, so that at least we can have it for historical purposes for viewing the data. Obviously, every day the data will change, right? Because in example, if you want to have historical data for HSBC, at least we can have maybe a month of tweets or something like that.
I see. Are you guys using like NoSQL or or cloud relational databases, or how are you guys?
We're using MongoDB as main database right now. Yes, right. Yeah.
Got it. We use Cassandra too. So it's not NoSQL, so it's fine. I was just kind of curious. So
yeah.
So you do all of your data is all in Mongo, right? All your time series data sets, everything sits mostly in Mongo, right?
Yes, yeah. Currently we're using this unstructured. Yes, yes, that's right.
I got it. And so are you using any graph databases currently in terms of connecting entities, or are you doing anything like that? Entity mapping, or?
I don't think we
currently we're not using graph-based databases.
Okay, got it. All right. Because I was just curious, because basically there's tons of edges you could kind of glean from that connected data. Looking at OFAC lists, looking at like countries they're in. There's tons of ways you can integrate public information around that. So it would honestly just tell stories, right?
Yes.
Yes, we've been thinking about some candidate databases, graph-based databases, and in fact, there are many social medias that represent their information as form of graphs. So Facebook API, for example. But for the moment, well, it's not an issue yet, but it could become, and if it does, we can consider new database types.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. Let's see. So the primary types of like customers that you guys have, right? I mean, they are private equity firms, or are they corporates? Can you tell me a little bit about like the current use case?
So I think it's kind of a mix. I think because we are pretty much. I think we are focusing on financial services mainly, and also we're also getting a lot of interest from non-financial firms, like an example, e-commerce companies and transportation companies. Obviously, mainly on the reputational and kind of a brand monitoring side of it. We're also serving them in kind of using how they can use this the APIs what we have. I think that's one side of the chain, and also mainly in the financial services markets. We are having discussions with, like, I would call as a PE firms and credit rating companies, and mainly in that nature. Also, we had some discussions with HSBC recently as well on how this can be useful in some of the initiatives they're taking on financial crime. And so basically, yes, this is kind of a mix, I would say.
I see. And so the primary the primary segment is financial services, and most of your customers are there today, right?
Yes, I think that's where I think we are focusing a lot on financial service markets, especially that because of the data, and also using
Sure. So when you guys showed in the dashboard influencers, for instance, how do you guys develop that? What exactly is that?
So it's a combination of looking at metrics like how many people talking about on a consistent timeline, basically about the same brand. There are some metrics automatically. We just calculate an example. Obviously, everything changes and dynamically each day, right? We do compare, and also we do some I would say some analysis on that with some behaviors, and then we just actually rank the order. And also sometimes it comes with an from the API itself. Also, there are some metrics where we can able to read it, and yeah, it's a combination of that, I would say.
Sure, I got it. So would you be looking at like the engagement of their posts also?
Yes.
Or are you not? You are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because not everything is actually relevant, right? If you look at even HSBC's page or Tesla's page, an example public page, they might say something, and there could be a lot of engagements in one post versus other one. But also you look at the context of what that is they're talking about. And if it's happy Christmas or something, it's not really meaningful, right? If it's something like their telephone service line is actually down, then it's much more meaningful. Then you can able to see how many people are impacted with that, and also their the real-time impact of that, and also things like that.
So you have so let's just take an example. You showed me Facebook and HSBC. Somebody posts Merry Christmas, and they get 1,000 likes and 200 responses, right? And then you have someone who posts, say, like the second highest post of like customer service wait time is horrible, right? And they get 50 likes and 10 responses. So would the system automatically just like filter out the Merry Christmas posts on Facebook and go to the second one and say, hey, this person on Facebook is the most influential based on this topic? Or how should I be thinking about that?
Yeah, very good. But what we're doing is that we not only look at the post itself, what the post is actually. We look at underlining messages like what are the people's problems. Like an example you pointed out, like delays in actually waiting on the customer, waiting on the telephone lines, or perhaps customer service, like people talking about bad reputational things. And we look at inherently the sentences, and also you can call it the topic models, right? Topics, different subtopics, or maybe narratives, people call in different terminology, and we look at those things and we cluster them. Basically, how many are actually emerging on a daily basis, and then we actually tell them, okay, on this day particularly, we see like there are 100 people specifically mentioning about this specific delays, and that is more actionable and also quantifiable, right?
Could I natively see a trend in that? So say over the past.
Yeah, of course.
How do you use it to say like, well, what do I say? Okay, let's just say the trend happens on Mondays. Mondays, we get a lot of responses on the Facebook page for customer phone service complaints. I mean, how easy is it for someone to extract that type of insight?
Yes, we have. We definitely have. Obviously, we have the stats on a daily basis. We capture that on a timeline, which means that they can able to monitor a specific category, and also those categories can change, right? Because HSBC might want to capture delays, and maybe Barclays wanted to capture some other metric, right? An example, we can able to because not every customer is exactly the same. But in terms of answering your question, yes, the timeline is there for sure. And you can able to monitor the sentiments happening over the time, and also you can monitor the different topics also have changing how they are monitoring each in a timeline basis. Yeah, it all again customizable to specific customer needs, right?
Is to extract a query like that? Well, say days in which we have highest customer service complaints on a particular topic, or I mean, how easy is it for like a company to extract that information, like in a consumable way, or getting to learn about that? Is that something you want to push, or is that something that's not necessary? Or I mean, obviously, it's probably not necessarily a use case right now, but how is that native to your API? Could someone go in and fetch that information very easily?
Oh, it's not. I mean, it's not directly a native, because obviously, in the context of AI, as you know, right, the model needs to understand what parameters they're looking for. An example, we have already generalized things like delays, bad reputational things, and customer service issues. Obviously, they can able to already take that as a timeline basically on, when you look at, you can plot a graph with the API, what we have, right? You can do that. But if they want any specific terms, like an example, delays in a particular credit card, or perhaps, delays in loans or something, then it needs a little bit of customization, but it's doable. It's not like very complex. It just, yeah.
Would you say you have any feature complete data sets in terms of like a particular topic or covering on any specific domain and say like the companies that you follow, say something, maybe not loans, but maybe like phone delays, or is there anything that we could say this is a complete kind of, or not complete, or maybe the most complete, say coverage area in terms of the
Yeah, delays is something which we've been looking at, perhaps which is consistent across all the, most kind of financial institutions right now. I think, yeah, that is something which is consistent across, and also something like, reputational thing as well, like, people talking about different words about, bad reputation, all disappointed with the banks, all different terminology. Yeah.
So when someone talks about, say, disappointment, you're able to extract kind of the big idea, the main idea from the topic. You're able to kind of extract that topic.
Exactly. Exactly right. Because if you look at the context of Facebook or Twitter, right, not everyone exactly types the same way, right? You can express your views in a different way. That's exactly the problem in a way that if you want to use a traditional rule-based engine, what happens is like you need to put many rules, many keywords to actually do groupings, right? But without at least the NLP, you can able to use like synonyms, and also maybe things like awful, disappointment, many different words belong to the same clusters. And this is where a dynamic allocation can happen, right? Yeah, that is in place. This is where we're constantly iterating, optimizing our models, and yeah, you see the difference, right? And yes.
So, and also curious, this is all English or any other languages?
So currently we have English, and also we have Italian, and recently we started to get Spanish as well. And also French also, because of one other customer in Africa, they're also interested in that. I think we've got multi-language covering soon. I mean, currently we have 3 languages, and other languages also should be relatively quite okay as well.
So if you had to kind of say that you could build a dashboard that would cover, say, a comparison, say, of all the companies that you've covered so far, you would say that you could cover, like, what topic could you compare across all these companies probably the most easily, or which topics, which is that fair to even say? I mean, I know it sounds.
I think some of the, I think I know where you. So I think some of the things what we consistently come across is about the reputational kind of risk-related news. In the media side, an example, someone like in HSBC is investigated by some a regulatory firm, or HSBC is sued for something else. Barclays was involved in a litigation. I think these are the consistent themes we come across, like in the risk and reputational side of it. And I think that seems to be some interesting aspects for some companies like PE firms to monitor, specific risk-related news.
Sure.
Over time, like a timeline, right?
And you get that information how frequently? How frequently are you getting that information? Is it in real time or? Yeah.
So as we are not really, I would call as a data aggregators or something like an example, right? So we rely on some providers, and basically we access the information. I would say near real time, like an example, within few seconds, an example. That's how we capture it, and we don't have the whole history of like an example, years and years of data. And that is something, an example where we are not, it's not exactly what we do, right? We just work on top of the data what we have.
Right. So you capture, you would have access to what you would have captured.
Yes.
But you wouldn't have access to the whole archive. Right?
Yes, exactly. I think that would be, yes, exactly right. Yeah.
Let's see. The benefit of that would be if you do it very fast. The drawback is time, right? So say you keep with time, you can either be very quick,
yes,
or you can be very in depth. And
right. Because the context what we're looking for is like, we are looking at this particular time, what is actually happening, right? Because that is more relevant for them to see. And also, of course, the historical timeline, maybe a week or month, or maybe something, or maybe 3 months would be really useful for some customers to see. But at least, based on the conversations I had with some of the customers, we didn't have any real big need, at least, in terms of reputational things, how it's happened last year, because, they're just looking at like a trend line for actually like more or less like a monthly kind of, or maybe weekly, that level. But of course, there's a need for some specific use cases for that, I guess. But
I I see. So I think if you guys are kind of focused on this capturing the moment, then I think the breadth of the information that we could focus. I mean, it's again, I'm just kind of advising in a sense.
Yeah.
It's like the coverage, the width of how wide you would cover the risk, it's kind of like it's okay. So it's the way what I would word it is you would be structuring an event, right? And why I say that is from our perspective, right, at Accrue, it's like when we view event recognition, right? We say we do it. It's the equivalent of saying that we identify there's a party going on. There are many different types of parties. There are appropriate and inappropriate parties for all age groups, right? And the idea here is that we can identify a birthday party by, you don't have to tell us it's a birthday party, we just identify the objects inside of it, right? And so by objectifying the view, you see a bunch of people around the same age playing, you see a birthday hat, a cake, it looks like a birthday party. It doesn't mean it's perfect, it could be something else, right? But the idea is that we were able to kind of identify the objects inside of it very explicitly,
Entities, yeah.
in order to say, ascertain what that moment is. So the idea is that when I think of like what you guys are doing, and I think of the conversations that I've had, I'm thinking of something along the lines of a thematic representation of risk. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, so I'm just, if I had a conversation with someone about your platform, I would want to say that we identify some ongoing development, and we can show you the features of that development very well. And we don't necessarily have all the times it's happened in the past, but it's a reoccurring theme, but we can tell you what it is and the qualities of what it is that's taking place in the moment. Does that make sense?
Yes. That's definitely a view of, yes, for sure.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of, in terms of like an MVP, what that would look like based on your current strengths. I don't want you guys to like go build something or wait. We don't want to waste any dollars. I don't want to waste any
Of course, yeah.
I hate doing that.
Yes.
So when I think of risk, in terms of like, are there any? So then tell me. I mean, you guys are practitioners. Are there any emerging themes of risk that you see happening, like real risk that we can just point to that are happening across, say, a slew of the companies, say in the financial services sector? What are those, and how if you could say important they are? Meaning the idea is like on a scale of 1 to 10, how significant of a risk factor this is. It doesn't mean that if it's a 10, it's going to happen often. It's highly unlikely. But I mean, are there any things like 6s, 7s, 8s, even 5s that are happening on a systematic basis that might be important that you would be capturing across, say, these sensor networks that you kind of develop across social media or press?
I think from the press perspective, one of the thing is regulatory side of things, which will be really coming up. I think a lot of things will be changing on a regular basis. I think that is something of interest, and things like litigations and scandals, and mainly that fraudulent kind of obviously investigations. When all the time it just comes up in the news. I think these are the kind of two things I can think of, and yeah, of course. It all depends on some of the users also, like customers, basically, like banks or PE firms, and how they would like to monitor their own I would call as a media monitoring, or perhaps in that nature, because those signals could be really useful for them to either mitigate the risk, or maybe just how they can deal with the portfolio management, right? And it is not a consistent, but at least these are some of the themes which I've come across as well.
So zooming in, let's just say litigation risk, right? So you have a litigation risk at a corporate, right? Around money laundering. Hypothetically, this litigation risk, money laundering, corporate bank, something like that, right? Or would you say that you're able to basically just extract, say, the past month, right now, every single instance that that of a large bank like HSBC in the news being litigated against for say money laundering crimes.
Yeah. Yes, obviously, yes, for sure. I think, yes, definitely. So we obviously litigation could be like example, could be different ways. It could be portrayed in the news. I think this is where we use NLP to extract the similarities like clusters and how these are all linked, and also entities, which is you mentioned, how it's linked to an example involved parties, and also, different kind of cluster groups, and, yes, for sure. Yeah, that can be all doable. Yes.
So that data about the, say, litigation risk, that's only coming from news outlets. It's not coming from any governmental court databases, right?
Correct. This is exact. Yes, this is right. Currently, we're relying on only the world kind of, I would say, the world news. We don't have any, I would say, data points from corporate websites, or maybe perhaps, this is, yeah, for sure. This is something, a good augmentation, Benoit, like we, could be really good to look at, maybe yes.
Yeah, we've done some work with that. We do track some of these types of litigation things, but only we track mostly telecom. We haven't really tracked a lot of corporate FinCEN type stuff.
Okay.
We do track in terms of events. We track, say, companies and corporates being listed in like designated lists, like say Sudan was just removed, right?
Right.
And so we would track people getting on and getting off these types of lists created by various institutions in the United States.
Yes.
So, and that's from an official source. Or basically tracking enforcement actions from, say, the regulatory bodies, CDC or SEC.
Yes. Sorry, but I've realized that I've got a call coming up also in the next 15 minutes. I have to get something before the call. And I think, so what we can do is that in terms of our next steps, I think maybe as Ali, I'll discuss with Ali as well and see some of the use cases what we're planning on. I think, in high level, I think we talked about, financial crime kind of driven umbrella, right? If you can think of something on that nature. Also, you mentioned something about crypto. We can look at those two kind of high level categories, and also looking at how best we can able to perhaps, obviously you having a big data asset of, all these different events and everything. We're just thinking how to kind of, augment that, maybe perhaps to spin up something to explore the data and see if there is any similarities. We can able to perhaps look at predictions and anomaly patterns in the data, and then probably that way we can able to take it from there.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, obviously starting with some sort of like internet outage or something, and maybe looking at complaints on the web. I mean, something simple. It can be something simple as that. It doesn't have to be in financial crime. But the idea is like we have events, we track outages in the cloud, or people complaining on the web, or people complaining about AT&T outages. It could be anything, right? The idea is that we have data sets of macro events going on, and if your data can help us understand those risks in terms of perception risks, because again, I'm viewing your strongest suit is more so right now telling the story with the data, and capturing the moment very well. So again, that's what I learned from this call, and I really appreciate the time it took to get that, because I learned a lot.
No, of course. It's okay.
So I know we have to go, but we will talk soon, and please, I look forward to follow up with some emails and some ideas.
Definitely. So I think as far as also the next steps, as you ask for it, we're happy to share our our endpoint API. So at least you can able to, it's a very simple endpoint where you can search about any entity. You can able to find some information about from media, social media, and also you can able to see some of the kind of categorization, some of the AI metrics we've done. At least that will give us flavor for you as well. And likewise, if you can also share, the dev system like Sandbox, what you have, right? Maybe access to us. That would be great for us in maybe Orest, and maybe perhaps our developers can able to look at and see, if there is anything we can able to search for any entity or anything. And if you can able to walk through some stage, that would be great. One of your team, yeah.
Sounds great. Exactly what I'm thinking also.
Is it okay?
Sounds good. Exactly it. Yep.
Perfect.
All right, so I'll go ahead and follow up with you, Benoit. So perhaps we can kind of discuss really maybe, what the next steps, perhaps through the emails, and we can go from there as well.
Yes.
So definitely great, Benoit. Thank you very much. It was a great call. Ali, sorry, you're saying something, Ali. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I wasn't, sorry.
Okay, cool.
So,
So,
thank you, Benoit, and everyone else.
perfect. Thanks, Ali, for the great insights. I appreciate that. Aris, thanks for stepping in. I know you were on holiday, but thanks for making an hour for today. And Benoit, it was a really great conversation. In summary, I think we definitely have good synergies. We can able to take it from there, and if needed, we can have a follow-up call maybe next week, end of next week, and then in between time, we can able to share our ideas and in email. And let's work towards getting our access, and perhaps let's get to know about each of our platforms, and so that we can take it from there. Yeah.
So then I sent you guys an NDA. Just can you guys send it back also, and I'll get you guys hooked up.
Fantastic. Cool, Benoit. Thank you. Is there anything else we need to do from our end, Benoit, for you to arrange an access at all? Is it okay?
I think let me get back to you about that. I will follow up in the email. I'm going to talk with my CTO also, and we will probably have a technical call, and I'll bring some others on board, and we'll talk about what you need and how that works.
Perfect. That would be really great, actually. Yes, if you can arrange that, maybe obviously with your team, and just get it. What I would be looking at is like it could be sandbox system, as long as it will be trial access, just to see how that is. And also once we understand the data, then probably our strength is mainly working on the data, right? We need to understand how the data is there, and also from there we can take it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we have a sandbox server you guys could use, no problem.
Perfect. Likewise, also be happy to share our API as well. Benoit, thank you.
Thank you. All the best.
Great.
Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Sam.
Thank you, everyone. Bye now. Thank you, Sam, Aditya. Thanks, Ali.
Thank you, bye.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks,
Bye.
Aditya. Cheers. Bye. Hi, Amy.
Hello.
Hi, Amy. Yeah, perfect. So we have a call coming in 10 minutes, right?
Yes, we do.
Perfect. So let's pick it up with him. It was a good conversation. I think we went to the little bit detail, which is good. So I think action steps will be next would be like an example, finding, obviously the use cases, what we'll be working on. Still, we didn't have a good clarity with him exactly how the data can be useful for our use cases. I'll discuss with Ali, and in the next couple of days, and then we can able to discuss maybe next week also with him. And that's yeah, for sure. And once we get an access to the system.
I think that's good, because I know the Ali within the innovation group, right? What exactly that this HSBC innovation group, is looking for, and from that, we can actually have access to their sandbox from the database, and we can kind of create a prototype with the HSBC innovation group as well. That can kind of like, it could be like a very small scenario based of financial compliance or crime, and we can focus on those. And then once we do that, like Benoit said, it doesn't necessarily have to be financial services. It could be any other industry compliant or crime as well. But then, it's the main things that financial crime is more at a much bigger scale than anything else.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, Amy. Hi, Amy. Amy, you're there? Hi.
Yes.
Sorry. The dog is kind of putting the door out. I just stepped out to see the dog. I think that's really good. So so a couple of things on this, Benoit, is that for sure I think it was a good interest to see how we can able to proceed. We need to just do some qualification really about where we take this, and also how we can apply. And as pointed out, I think there could be many angles where we can talk to other people about HSBC, or maybe an example tomorrow also Credit Safe as well. And I think we need to get to the bottom of how this can be applied, because it's a very vast data set they have, right? We need to be very specific about how this can be applied. Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's just not only like a data set. I mean, we can always the vast increase the data set based on the scenario. So maybe we should narrow down to like come up with scenario based, or should say maybe scenario, maybe that's not the word, but like incident based. Like for example, what kind of like a credit fraud, is it fraud? Or what is that? Like maybe kind of start small to kind of scale out what kind of financial crimes we can actually utilize for those his data set.
Yes, I agree. I think it's really useful. Yeah, thank you. I agree with you. And yeah. Yes. So that was a good conversation. I think finally we we got hold.
Yeah, it got really intense. He can talk about all the data, so which is good, but I think it's we need to make sure, maybe like push a little bit of Ali with his innovation group, see what exactly we can do to maybe, like you said, we also ask credit safe as well, and to quantify what's the synergy between HSBC, credit safe, any other financial services, see if we can actually cover that portion.
Yes, exactly right, exactly right. So I think that's really cool. So it's a long conversation. I wanted to kind of wrap up at 5:30, but actually it was going on, and yeah, I think it was good. I think he got an understanding as well. I think let's work towards it. Maybe I'll draft an email tomorrow, and then we can take it for him tomorrow. Yeah, it's for now. I think it's all right. And we've got a call with Leighton, right? Basically, we keep it quiet. I mean, we keep it simple with Leighton to see basically what are the different things he's planning to do from his side. And also we have a conversation with him tomorrow, right? With other team members.
Right.
I think that would be really useful, I think, with them. And,
yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. It's only half an hour call, which is good. And also I think Leighton mentioned a few things, and yeah, let's think he's on the business side, isn't it? In the US, yeah?
I think so. He's more in business, like really sales, and then really connecting like more to client relations rather than technical. So, he may be able to kind of expand not just to credit safe, but, again, credit safe is an affiliate program with a GC, which means that, they will able to actually split the commissions and things like that as well, right? And same thing. We refer credit safe, we get that.
So what we can do with I think one interesting thing with Leighton is that he said actually he's got a data access or something we can able to talk to him about, accessing the API. And I think that is a really good one. I think I'll discuss with him on that. I think, in the meantime, let's keep it very open and let's see. Yeah, should be fine.
Yeah, right. I think you'll be able to get access with their sandbox as well, not just the Venmo, but I think that's good because you can also play around and also be able to have access to credit safe, maybe like some sort of a trial version or something like that, so we can actually kind of see what they do and how we can actually come up with that scenario.
Yes, definitely. Why not? Sure. Okay. And I will, what I'll do is that I will, I'll discuss with him, basically, yeah, sure. We'll discuss with him, I think, which cool, I think, perfect. So we've got a few minutes, right? So let's talk to him. He's accepted, right? Is he okay with that?
Yep, he is.
Okay, perfect. All right, cool. He's accepted, yeah? Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
All right, well, I'll be muted for a little bit. I think this is the same line, right? I think, yeah, it is.
So you wanted to, okay, you'll come back at the time then, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect, okay. Thanks, Amy. All right.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello? Hey, Leighton.
Hey, how you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Happy New Year, and hope you had a good time.
Busy day.
How was it?
Oh, trying to. I leave for Europe in 4 days, and there's a lot of lockdowns going on right now. So getting stressed. I've got my suitcase packed next to me, and just hoping we can still go.
Right. Where are you now? In Phoenix.
Arizona, yeah.
Phoenix, right. So are you planning to come to the Europe?
Yes, I'm going to be in the Netherlands for 7 weeks, and then in Wales for 7 weeks.
So when is your travel coming in? Is it
Monday?
All right. So you're waiting whether the lockdown is. I mean, they're allowing another. Right. Okay.
Well, right now I'm flying from LAX into Frankfurt, and then renting a car in Frankfurt, and then driving to Veda in the northeast of the Netherlands. So it's going to be interesting. I've got to go for a fresh test on Sunday, make sure that PCR test is negative. Then they can still choose to lock you down when you land anyway, even if you've got the negative test. So it's I'm not looking forward to it at all.
Oh, I see. It's a business travel, right? So you're going for a business trip, right?
Originally, yes, but then there's a bit of family mixed in with it as well. So it's a mix of both. Yeah, the original plan was for me to be in the offices in the Netherlands, France, and Germany for those 7 weeks, but now, yeah, it's a mess.
No, of course, it's a very situation in Europe. I think it's very getting changing every day, right? I can understand how it can impact people traveling and making arrangements, right? I hope if things will be okay for you, and because I don't know what the situation with the UK, but it looks like it's a very strict lockdown. But obviously, when you travel to, I think within Europe, I think maybe from Netherlands, by the time I think things might be okay, I guess. But
Yeah.
I personally don't know because we're all home based and we didn't travel, and I didn't particularly follow the news, and it's not.
I try not to read the news at the moment. That's how you get some anxiety, It's the end of the world.
First of all, thanks for making time. I think let's make it quiet. I know you're busy. Also, you had a busy day today, and thanks for making time. And you had a good break at all, like Christmas, and did you take some time off?
Yeah, it was fantastic. It's like I had no time off. I've been working all the way through, apart from Christmas Day. So.
All right.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I let all of my salespeople have the time off, so I was covering everybody else. So.
Right.
It was nice.
Must be busy, right?
What about you guys? Do you have some fun?
Yeah, it was good. I think we had. I mean, personally, I took some days off, and like the Christmas Day, and also the day after, and the New Year's Day. I mean, exactly that. And yeah, we got some few things going on. And as you can imagine, sometimes when you're running the business, I think it's there are a few things to follow up and stuff. It never finishes, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you've got all of the right people now coming to the phone call. Tomorrow, I believe they've rescheduled it for Thursday. You definitely have all the right people coming to the phone call as far as what CreditSafe is looking for is concerned. You've got our product director, our product manager, and our compliance product manager all coming to the phone call.
Fantastic, thank you.
So I feel that, yes, if you guys can tick all of these boxes, you're going to be in a very strong position. I know they're looking at a couple of other companies for the exact same thing. There is one little bit of advice that I had for you.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you had it. We're being asked for it a lot lately.
What was that?
Where is that email?
Sure.
Sorry, I'm trying to look for it a second.
No, take your time. Yeah, no rush.
There she is. So you got the adverse news, judicial, labor, and EHS updates.
Mm-hmm.
Does that pop up on